All right, my friends, how are you today? Aaron here bringing you full moon horoscope for June 3rd, June 4th, depending where you're at in the world, 2023. We've got a full moon happening in the sign of Sagittarius, which means, of course, the sun's going to be in the sign of Gemini. So a full moon is an opposition, of course, of the sun in the sign of Gemini and the moon in the sign of Sagittarius. So what is Gemini all about? Gemini is about communication first and foremost. If we look at the first few houses of the zodiac, Aries is about self. It's about knowing thyself, fingers and toes, tip of the nose, the baby. It's all we know. Second here is about my personal possessions, my things. My computer, my toys, my bed, my environment, my home, my security, my bank account, my things that belong to me. Now, third house, Gemini, this is my communication skills. This is the way my brain operates. And my brain operates, we have the left and right hemisphere of the brain. Generally speaking, our left side is Virgo, on our right side is Pisces. The left side is going to be analytical mind. Okay, it is creative, but yet it's still right, wrong, left, right, up, down. This is an apple. This is a banana. This is an elephant. This is a river. Very specific things. Okay, I am me. You are you. Across the way from Virgo is Pisces, which is going to be we are all one. We are all connected. All right. So the reason I'm bringing up Virgo and Pisces is because they do have a little bit of play in this particular full moon. And because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and so is Virgo. And since we're talking about communication and left and right brain here, this is Gemini, the duality of Gemini. If things go up, things must come down. We have a dualistic nature in our approach to life. Although things aren't always that black and white, things aren't always that left, right, red, blue kind of thing going on here. But in Gemini, there's always another possibility. Okay, so this is something that's really interesting to focus on, to looking at right now. Gemini, there's always another possibility. So in like scientific theory, it's not just this absolute one thing. There's always another possibility, right? How do we human beings come into existence? Well, this is education. This is our intelligence. This is our understanding. This is all Gemini information, understanding of the world and understanding of the greater philosophy of life, the philosophy of myself, the philosophy of who I am. This is the Sagittarius energy. Okay. So these four mutable signs, I'm going to show you the chart here. The four mutable signs here, Gemini. Okay. This is my first approach at understanding my brain, understanding my language, understanding the way that I communicate with the outside world. This is about really my relationship with myself, first and foremost, before the outside world. Virgo tends to be more, now connection with the outside world, my acts of service to other people. But here we can say, what is the possibility of something? Okay, now these energies, Gemini and Pisces, they're both nondescript, okay? This is like, it smells. It could be anything. What is the source of the smell? Who knows where it's coming from? And just because I said it smells, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad smell. It could mean it's a very sweet smell or a good smell. Okay, so this is when the Virgo energy becomes more definitive. Well, what is that sweet smell I'm smelling? Okay, that sweet smell is actually that's your radiator burning, and it's burning up. That's bad. Okay, either not good or bad, but it's just like defining something, and then it's just like, well, now that we've found out what this is, the greater philosophy says if I'm smelling radiator fluid burning on my engine, that sweet smell of liquid coolant, now there's a different philosophy and idea of what I have to do when I get there, when I find this problem out. Maybe not the best example. So how do we, let me come back to this. How do we come into existence? Depends who you ask. Okay. Now you ask a scientific person who has no religious background, they're going to say that the Big Bang existed and that we came from single-celled organisms over millions and millions of years into these complex multi-dimensional beings that we are here today, you know, with frontal lobes in our left and right hemispheres, our right and wrong, good and bad, our ability to withhold information, our ability to communicate what's necessary, our ability to be deceitful, our ability to be honest, to be authentic, our ability to act. This is all Gemini information, okay? You ask a religious person how we came into existence, they're going to say God created all things. You know, God created man and woman and all animals and everything in the planets, okay? Now, these are two different realities, okay? This is extremely important. Gemini, dualistic, but yet they exist in the same space. This is where the Pisces energy comes in. And we have, let me come back here. We have, it's loose and it's not showing right in the chart in this, but this is a very loose kind of energy to Saturn, okay? This is only a few degrees off. A squaring to Saturn, although it's not pulled up here in the chart. Okay, so Saturn is challenging what is real. This is extremely important. So we say, this is my personal perspective, my personal reality. This is the way that I was raised. I was raised maybe religious, and this is my belief of how everything came into existence. Okay, and Saturn says, well, that might not be the only way of things. Because although this information over here in oneness, everything, unity, Pisces, and Neptune has been just confusing the heck out of everybody, especially with the media over the past, 12 years, 13 years, or whatever it's been. Saturn is here to do a very specific job, and it's to clean up our language, for one, to clean up ideas and how we're communicating with one another. Okay, and although it's in Pisces, and again, this might seem odd, but this square here is like, look, we have to figure out what is, you know, your reality, my reality, and then what is like a bigger truth. Okay, and this is the Sagittarius energy, where the moon, the emotional necessity, the moon is reflecting back on us down here on Earth. Okay, so we have this full illumination happening in our place of emotion. The moon is our emotional needs, saying there's a greater need for higher philosophy and higher education that's beyond your personal observation, your personal view of reality. Okay, you ask, a conspiracy theorist how we came in, and they might start talking to you about the Incas. You know, and you talk about the Incas of how we're created in this life. Then there was these alien beings that came here to Earth because Earth had resources, and found primates across this globe and spliced their DNA with our DNA and created human beings. You know, so it's just like, these are all different possibilities, and that's absolutely necessary to have these possibilities in science. Okay, what's also extremely important, if we look back at the past couple of years here with the COVID pandemic, I'm not taking sides with anything. I'm just an astrologer. I'm sharing words. That's all this is, right? This is the beauty of Gemini. All I'm doing is sharing words. You can form your own opinion after. I'm not going to share my opinion of something. But we had COVID, and we had doctors saying, you know, this is the reason that COVID exists. This is the medicine that will cure you. These are the steps to take to avoid COVID. And then we have several, other people that were conspiracy theorists, saying, no, I'm not taking this vaccine. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it the way that you guys want me to do it. I'm going to do it my own way. And maybe that was with ivermectin. Maybe that was with other natural herbs. Maybe that was without getting a jab, and taking their own personal risk. Okay. The reason I'm bringing this up is because these are two different realities, and it's necessary to have, in a sense, this healthy observation of an opposite point of view. Okay, this is extremely prevalent in not only this full moon, but where we are at in life right now with human beings. Like we're still figuring out what human beings are. We've been alive for maybe millions of years, thousands for sure, that we have record of. And there's still a lot we don't understand, we don't know. And to say, like, this is concrete, this is 100% this, and there's all of these possibilities. Okay? And then when we through scientific experiment, we take these possibilities, and this is where Sagittarius, the moon, comes in to reflect back down on us. And if we have enough evidence of something, okay, it's about higher education, higher religion. This is also about joy. This is about expansion. Okay, so it's just like we can take our observation, our perhaps limited perspective on life, and then broaden it. So what happened during that? Why did I bring up this COVID thing? What happened during that time is whoever was, it was like we can't just be. Both sides weren't allowing themselves to just be. Like if you were an individual that wanted, vaccinations, and that's wonderful, and vaccinate yourself and your family, protect yourselves if that's how you felt good. And if this individual over here didn't want to do that, all of a sudden it was like, you're killing me, you're hurting me. It's just like, no, you can have the vaccine that saves you. It's just not for me. So we have this pulling a bit, okay? And Saturn is really here trying to, again, it's an odd T-square to the moon and the sun. It's a little off, but it's still relevant, because it's like we got to get these facts straight. And not only facts, but we have to understand that you all live together in the same space, and you're all allowed to have a different perspective and opinion. And that is extremely necessary. And once we start taking away each other's perspectives and opinions, and allowing a certain amount of personal freedoms within healthy boundaries, and it's just like, that's what Saturn is about. It's about boundaries. Saturn's about boundaries and limits. And it's like, hey, when you put too much weight on the desk is in collapse. The structure will no longer hold. And Saturn can also be looked at as government. And it's just like, there are certain things happening governmentally that it's just like, you're losing the faith. The government is the people. And no matter what country you're from watching this and listening to this right now, the government is and always will be the body of people, you and myself. But yet there's also the authoritarian government, who the people that we elect to put in place of power. But the majority is still us. So we're seeing a bit of sway here of an unequal power of authority. Okay, so it's just like, well, our right minds have to get together and collectively get together, the Sagittarius energy now, and then formulate, well, we have to be adults. Kids, it's like putting kids in charge of kids at the playground. Like, somebody has to be the adult, like kids can have their fun, and they should be able to explore and all this. But at the same time, it's like, we know the adult has to step in when the adult needs to step in. And there's a lot of conversations that are happening right now where the adult or the logical individual or the logical people are very afraid to step in and afraid to communicate the very necessary communication that's happening. And we have this beautiful T-square happening as well right now. Excuse me, friends. Something else I want to talk about, this T-square and Mars entering here, Leo. This is extremely valuable with this full moon, and this energy is where we've been. As Mars was in Gemini, where the sun is now, since October 16th of 2022. Okay, it retrograded 6 months there. Then it slowly moved through Cancer. Now, Mars in Gemini, Mars in Cancer, to me, they're not my favorite places for our planet of action to be. Okay, and it's kind of mentally confusing a bit, and then it turns into a bit of like, oh, now all this mental confusion is gone, and now I'm swimming through all of these emotions. And it's not that Mars isn't an emotional or a loving, compassionate thing, but it's just like, it's like it wants ground to run on, if you will. So Mars entering the sign of Leo here just a week or so ago it should be an extremely uplifting energy. Okay. And we see there's a slight conjunction to Black Moon Lilith here. And we have this grand fire trine, all right, between Lilith, Mars coming up, the moon here in Sagittarius, again, taking the emotional need to take the higher road, my friends. An emotional need to take the higher road and to be able to communicate, not just from a personal perspective, from a higher perspective. Looking at the other person's perspective, looking at the philosophical perspective. No one wants to hurt. Nobody wants to hurt feelings when you're trying to express and expose things that are not necessarily right. Because this Gemini information, the Gemini information can say, I'm an elephant, okay? This is a Ferrari race car. Okay, I'm talking into a glass of water, that's what's picking up the audio rate. I mean, I can mislabel absolutely everything in the world. You see, this is an issue. This is an ongoing theme that's happening right now in the world as well, with this like labeling, and it's just like people are wanting to escape a label, and it's just like, well, we define things for certain reasons, and then what happens is we have it's defined, and then this is like, well, the definition or what that embodies is somebody doesn't want to identify with that thing. You know, it's like, well, with all the hate that men are getting right now, why in the world would I want to identify as a white man? I don't, but I am, right? So it's just like having definitive communication, definitive information, and taking this higher road approach. No matter if I want to call myself whatever I want to call myself, I will always be this. And it's this higher mind that understands this. No matter what I want somebody else, it's like if I want to be viewed as handsome and charming, or if I want to be viewed as a likable person, which is just absolutely unrealistic. You know, it's like, not everybody likes me. I want, you know, as much as I would love that, that's not how it is. Not everybody loves me. Not everybody loves my perspective. Not everybody loves astrology. Not everybody loves whatever, you know, and that's kind of the beauty of life here. But there's a sense of fantasy, and then there's a sense of, well, we have to collectively get together and talk about what is reality, so that we can communicate with one another on what this reality is, and that we can navigate with one another. And I think this is something I talked about in one of the last couple YouTube videos, was like, we have to collectively agree in reality that green is go and red is stop. And if some other country, we don't have this agreement on this concept of green is go, red is stop, our realities clash. We headbutt. You know, we have conflict. We have confusion. We have disaster, anger, light switch on, off. You know, there's these certain things, and it's just like when we start looking at language as well, which Gemini and Sagittarius deal with language. It's like all things are derived kind of together. All languages have like a common thread to them. Even though they're very, very different, they all have a common thread to them. And together with this, again, we collectively agree on what reality is. And we can collectively say, I am not an elephant. Or this is not a glass of water. This is a microphone. Okay? And it takes patience, because we're still figuring a lot of things out in life. You know, we're still figuring out what a human being is. We're still figuring out what love is, and how to love, and how to create family, and how to create community. And it's something that we have lost, you know. And we look at like tribes. Spent a lot of time in Peru, and it's just like what I experienced down there, what I experience here is a very different reality. It's a very different life. And it's like, I get sad sometimes up here in the United States, in Metro Detroit, where I live, of how separated we all are, and our comfy little prisons that we've created for ourselves, you know. And then it's just like, this is my structure and my security, but it's also my solidarity, you know. And it's so dualities of life, and it's coming together collectively, gaining the higher perspective and higher wisdom, higher knowledge, and trying to add joy into our lives. So why I brought Mars into this earlier is Mars is coming here, making this, you know, moon connection with Mars and Chiron, is Mars finally in the sign of Leo. And this is not only about firing self up, getting excited about who you are as an individual. And Chiron here, this grand water trine of accepting who you are, accepting who I am as an individual, you know. And I can change certain things about myself, but I will always be me. I can change my physical appearance. I can change my name. I can tattoo myself. I can do all kinds of things, but I'll always be me. So there's a healthy sense of why this is why Chiron is in Aries right now, of just accepting self, you know, accepting our own unique, weird, beautiful selves. And of course, the moon here is just like, yeah, and then take that and be joyous with it and celebrate yourself. Okay, and find this passion and drive that you have, because what are we motivated by? Money. We're so motivated by money. Okay, we're motivated. And if I said, here's $1,000, will you go do this task for me? Most people would just jump up and say, yeah, absolutely. And if I said, here's $1,000 to start your own business, would you do it? Maybe I might need more than that or something. You know, it's just like, but it might be enough motivation. We're motivated by money, and it's just like if people are so afraid to fail at by themselves, and it's just like there's this a sense of adventure with this full moon. It's like we have the knowledge, we have all the information, we have all the possibilities in front of us. What could go wrong? What could go right? This is also the beauty of the sun in Gemini right now. What could go wrong? What could go right? Let's look at let's list these both out, and then here's the moon in Gemini, full illumination, or full moon in Sagittarius, saying it's like, well, this is adventure. This is travel. This is the journey of life. Yeah. Being happy every day is not something that is, I don't think this is necessarily achievable, to have a day of 100% joy and happiness through the entire day. Or for yourself to just be happy for just extending this sense of joy and happiness forever. Like we're gonna have a roller coaster of life. So if we stop fixating on happiness or joy being the end all be all, and if we focus on life being the adventure and life being the journey itself, that's, I feel like, part of this illumination. Let life, let's open our sails to the winds and allow life to take us wherever we need to go. And whatever we need to learn along the way, we'll learn. That's the beauty about being human. And if our perspective changes, this is wonderful. We learned something new, and we learned a different way to go about life. We learned a different way to tie our shoes. We learned a different philosophical way that maybe humans were created, or the planets, or maybe the asteroid belt used to be a planet that was exploded. Maybe that was the planet, that the Inca story, that was the planet that the Incas used to go from the outside, and they would land that outer planet outside of between Mars and Jupiter, and then jump here to Earth. And then there's some conspiracy theorists that think the pyramids were built to blow up that thing. Now, I have no idea. Now, I'm just saying it's Gemini. It's rubber ducky, balloons. It doesn't matter. They're just words, but it's just like, it's a possibility. It's kind of neat to think about. Is it real? Is it not real? I don't know. Saturn's going to come in here and try to figure out, tell us what's real or what's not real. But it's like, it's cool to think about. And then the journey of discovery to like, well, can we have scientific experiments? Is there a way to figure this, out? Last thing I want to talk about here is this T-square. Now, of course, the nodes are going to be across from each other. And we see at 2 degrees here, we're getting ready to shift. The nodes are getting ready to shift to Aries and Libra, which is about our relationship with ourselves and our relationships with other people. We'll talk a lot more about that, but right now they're still in this place of security and conjunct Jupiter. So the North Node conjunct Jupiter, go in this place of security. Go. What is secure to you? What is a home base? What is financially abundant for you? How can you gain more resources? Garden. Learn to garden. Learn to grow your own food. Mercury is out of retrograde, okay, and conjunct Uranus. So we have the ruling planet of where this full moon energy exists, both Jupiter and Mercury, in the sign of Taurus, okay? And Taurus, we have this North Node saying collectively, doesn't matter what sign you are, Capricorn, Gemini, Pisces, Cancer, we're all collectively going in this direction of Taurus, of finding stability for ourselves. We're all going in this direction of find comfort with being who you are. Find the joys and the passions. Drive yourself in the passions that you find appropriate in life. What do you think is the best direction for you to go in? Follow that passion. It's romance, follow it. It's creativity, follow it. If it's you stepping into the limelight, by time, get out there and do it. It's like celebrities here. I get to work with celebrities. If they're new to this channel, I work with a lot of celebrities, famous musicians, athletes, whatever. I work as a production sound engineer in the film and television industry. So I get to meet a lot of like famous people, right? And famous people, everywhere they go, they're just, they wave and they smile because they think everybody likes them. May or may not be the case, like, I don't really care, but they're just another person I'm miking up. But if everybody had that kind of mentality, like everywhere you go, you walk into the gas station, and instead of like avoiding eye contact with the person, just 20 on number 2, please, just like, hey, how you doing? If you had that same sense of like glow or excitement to you, same jovial, joyous kind of thing, it is achievable. Now we say that we can't, life's a roller coaster and it's not always possible to be that. Yeah, but have you tried it? If you haven't tried it, maybe this is the time. This is the beauty of this full moon right now and these possibilities, and then following our passions. Maybe it's time to act like you're a celebrity. Maybe you're not. Maybe you never will be. It doesn't matter. But you act like it. And we're not saying that acting like it is being a place of inauthenticity either, because it's saying like that this is a place of comfort for myself. This how do I want my relationships to be? I want my relationships to be jovial. I want my relationships to be, hey Aaron, good to see you. I want to say, hey, good to see you, fill in the blank name. Give me a hug, brothers don't shake hands, brothers got a hug. So it's like getting in there, shaking things up, breaking things up, because so not only Jupiter connecting with the North Node saying follow this direction, and Mercury, our mind here, where the sun is illuminating, conjunct Uranus, which Uranus is saying, friends, shake it up, go sideways, do things different, use your left hand instead of your right, jump instead of crawl. I don't know. It's whatever this idea is of security. This has been something I've been saying for years now, since 2018, when Uranus has entered Taurus. That what was once security, we have to do radical things to be secure at this point in time. So this is like a way as well, like having radical ways of shifting our mind's perspective. Radical ways of shifting our mind's perspective, learning something new, collectively learning something new, fully illuminating and going on this adventure of a lifetime. And lastly, with this T square, or this grand fixed cross that we have. So the nodes are always going to be across from each other, but we have Pluto freshly in Aquarius, and we have Venus almost entering into Leo. It's not quite there yet. So that's like the one oddball, is Venus is in Cancer. So Pluto in Aquarius, we've talked about this a little bit. I'll probably talk about it a lot more over the next 22 years. But, oh, Jesus. Sorry. It's funny I just said Jesus, excuse me. And it's like, it's got to be interesting too, just like thinking of Gemini stuff, and it's just like duality, this dual stuff. It's really interesting, it's like I might have offended somebody by saying, oh, Jesus, and it's like, I don't mean to do that, but I doubt I did, because I talk about astrotheology quite a bit on this channel. But it's like something that's interesting is like, the cow is, what is it, Muslim tradition? It's the cow is sacred. And here in America, North America, it's like having, it's like this sacred thing that we're just like big beef burgers, and like we're just shoving this holy thing into somebody else's religion, into our faces, and it's just like, it's really interesting, This is part of this Gemini stuff. It's just like, wow, maybe I've never thought about it like that. But it's like my brain thinks about these. I'm born in a full moon, so I think about this crap all the time. I'm just like, these other ways to think about stuff. Anyway. Where do we get off here? Okay, so Pluto in Aquarius, we're changing technology. Technology is going to change faster than any time before. So, of course, our minds, this full moon, are going to be expanding as well with it. Our emotions must expand with it as well. Like, there is going to be cyborg people. Like, it's going to happen. However I have an emotional reaction to it or not, it's going to happen. Some people want to have that. Some people don't. That's going to happen. Some people want, all these different cosmetic surgeries. Some people don't. There's going to be a huge leap in technology, whether that's with infusing human DNA into technology, or humans into technology. That'll happen eventually. We're not, but there's going to be a huge leap and jump into technology. And it's just like finding, why is this square right now? Because it's like we're finding the balance. We're finding the balance here of where is this become unstable? Where does this technology which Pluto is this huge Plutonian energy, huge energy, like Uranian energy, huge energy, that's going to blow stuff up, break through, huge breakthroughs, okay? And the way that we're using technology right now. And Venus is here, is our sweet love. And it's across the way in Pisces, or in Cancer, excuse me. So it's like not quite in Leo yet. And when it gets to be in Leo, it's going to be a very favorable time of this summer, or moving into this summer. It's a great time, as Mars and Venus will both be in the sign of Leo, which is going to indeed further give extra weight to not only this full moon, but extra weight to Chiron in the sign of Aries. It's like, you got to love yourself. You got to love every weird little quirk about you. It doesn't matter you know, you got a weird toe, you got a weird thing, you got a mole in a weird spot, you get whatever. That's like, that's part of your beauty, you know, like somebody might be bald, somebody might be short, somebody might be tall, someone might have little chest, someone might have big boobs, like whatever. Like that's part of you. It's like what makes you you. You know, your voice is what makes you you. Your perspective on life is what makes you you. Being open to learning new things, being closed off to not learning new things. All these is part of what makes you you. So these energies, you know, Venus and Mars, you know, starting to move here. It's like getting back in touch with the emotions, healthy emotions of like loving myself, loving my own emotions, like loving if I get frustrated. This, you know, Aaron, well, why do I get frustrated when this thing happens? You know, so it's just like maybe I can transform this because what do I want? I want security. Okay, so the thing that we're talking about here is this grand cross, and these four energies lining up with one another. Okay, so it's about transformation, huge technology, community, and it's like we need community. Okay, here's the last thing I'm going to say with life being an adventure and communication being a huge part of this, and this T square, this we have. Okay, grand cross. We have a fire trine. We pretty much have a grand kite happening between Chiron, you know, here's the fire signs, the trine of the fire signs, and then we have Lilith here coming back here to the sun. Sun should be sextile to Chiron here in the next day or two. So it's like we have this huge energy of like transformation and loving oneself and changing our perspectives. You know, and Black Moon Lilith here being in this like radical feminine energy. And it's just like, look, dude, we all got to love each other. We all got to play ball. There's something I've been saying. Here's an interesting perspective. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. This is an interesting perspective. We are, I say 8 days. 8 days is all it would take. At max, 8 days. We are one light switch away from changing everything. Everything, how we talk to each other, how we communicate to each other, how men and women talk to each other, how the community gets together. If we lost power across the world, I give it 8 days. 8 days. No one's going to care about your freaking pronouns. No one's going to care about how we... Not saying it's not important, but it's just like we are so privileged right now because our sense of survival, you know, like we're not trying to survive the way that we once had to. You know, we're not worried about, hey, that group of people over there, they got guns and we have no freaking electricity and they're out of food and they see that I've got something. We would see people get back together like this in a heartbeat. We would see this anger of men and women that's going on right now. We would all come together. We need each other. We need each other. Men and women need each other. Doesn't matter what race you are, we need community. And when we're so separated, especially here in the United States, we're such a big country. It's like we don't know ourselves. We have no culture. You know, as an American saying that. We don't know ourselves. We're too big to know ourselves. And it's just like we're all separated. We need this togetherness. And this is part of what this Pluto entering Aquarius is about. It's about community, and Venus here in Cancer is like my emotional need is to what emotions was this my needs is to journey, is to get together with other people, to communicate, to expand ideas, not to necessarily be, you know, that's what this lovely here, this grand trine happening with Lilith involved. You know, it's just like we love each other. We need men and women to love each other. We're all here because of love in one way or another. You know, we need to change our perspective because being in a place of anger and the patriarchy and men hating women, women hating men, the fight that's happening between the LGBT community, heterosexuals, like it's just got to stop. We have to find common ground. You know, like going on about this, like in this combative way, just brings more separation. And it's just like, well, the astrology is telling us a different story. The astrology is telling us that we have to get together. The astrology is telling us that our hearts need to get together. And I'm telling you, Aaron's saying that if we lost power, I give it 8 days and nobody gives a shit about those things anymore because we would all come together. Because we would have to. We'd have no choice but to grow food together. We'd have no choice but to come together as a community. So it's like I hope that maybe that perspective can help, maybe, or maybe I'll just get in trouble. I get canceled. It's a possibility. Everything's a possibility. That's the beauty of life. So I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful full mooning, my friends. The journey of life continues. We'll see you next time.